Welcome, everyone. This is a Norwood Community Media special. We're here with Sue Bartlett and Joe Greeley of the Trails Committee. The Trails have been working hard even through the stay-at-home shutdown. They've been doing a lot of stuff. So Sue and Joe are here to tell us kind of what they've been working on and what's coming up with the Trails.
All right. Well, great. Thanks, Megan. Appreciate it. Sue is one of our members. I'll just kind of briefly go around our table. We've got 11 of us on the committee. We've been in place. There's a helicopter circling overhead. I'm hoping it has nothing to do with me. So we've been in the Trails Committee has been in place for about a year and a half. We are an advisory committee. We're advising Tony Mizuko and a number of the town department heads. We work very closely with Mark Ryan, with Paul Halkiotis. We're almost on a constant dialogue with the Conservation Commission. I think we've really kind of found our niche in the last, certainly the last 6 to 8 months. I think we're in a good spot as far as the service that we're providing, and we've got a great kind of not only an inner circle of members, but we like to think that we've got 28,000 members, and we consider ourselves working to provide a good and increasingly better and better service to the community.
Awesome. So what kind of things have you guys been working on, especially during the shutdown? And, there's a ton of trails obviously in the town, but which you guys have worked hard on. But what kind of stuff have you been working on recently?
Yeah, so generally we met, I think our last official meeting as a committee was February 28th. We try to meet twice a month. That's our formal meetings. And then beyond that, we the month of February, for instance, we picked one of the nights of the full moon. I think around the 7th or the 8th of February. And we probably had, and it was open to the community, we probably had 60 to 70 people join us. It was really kind of cool. There were, families, young folks kind of ran the gamut as far as who attended. Since then, people have reached out to us and said, when are you going to do the next one? And keep us on, constant contact as far as when the next one is going to be. We tried to do a snowshoeing event in the winter, but we were standing there with no snow in our snowshoes, so we looked a little odd. But we try to get out on the trails at least once a month. The meetings in the town hall are important for us to kind of circle back and not only talk about what we've done, but chart the course for going forward. But we're to a certain extent, we're just a bunch of kids who like playing in the woods and walking on the trails, and we certainly have as much fun as everybody else who's out on the trails. So I'm going to let specifically, most recently, I was contacted by one of our kind of the next tier out circle of members and contributors to our effort. Katie Neal Rizzo actually asked if we could recommend an area in town where she and her family could do some orienteering. And orienteering, it's a great sport. It's a lot of fun. We don't really have any organized locations, although groups like the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts, and there is such a thing as the New England Orienteering Club. So that got me thinking. I was able to help Katie to a certain extent, but that got me thinking, okay, well, maybe we can't do that, but what other, especially during this kind of work from home, school's been temporarily canceled, unfortunately, with the COVID-19. So it got us thinking. We tried to put our creative hats on and say, okay, well, families are really struggling from an educational standpoint, and just from the standpoint of being cooped up in home, in the house. We do have the governor and Tony and the town hall has put into place. Really, stay in your home and stay as close to home as possible. As much as you can, and limit your travel. So we said, okay, well, but then on the other hand, Segal Reese and many people from the White House on down to local recommendations are, yes, stay at home, but try to stay healthy and try to live life as much as as good as well as you can, and do healthy things, and take walks, etc. So the light bulb went on. That's where Sue Bartlett's creativity kicked in. So I'm going to turn, if I could, Megan, I'm going to turn this over to Sue, just to describe what things are in place at, especially at Shattuck Park. We tried to identify a park that was really in the hub of a community. Shattuck and Hennessy Field are perfect examples. Towards the end, when we finish talking about Shattuck in particular, we can talk about the other parks in town and where else this could apply. But we did solicit input and approval from Town Hall, and Tony and Segal Reese were definitely on board with this. So I'm gonna let Sue talk a little bit about some of the activities that are in place now that can be taken at Shattuck.
Awesome. Sue, looking forward to hearing from you.
All right. So, yeah, basically, what we tried to do really was, with the understanding that a lot of the families are home, trying to homeschool, but yet want to get out of the house and be active. So what we were thinking at Shattuck was to come up with some activities that parents could do with their children, especially where it's just going to be a family unit together because of social distancing. There could be a possibility of like different age groups with that, with that family. They're going to have a couple of kids, but they're all going to be at different levels. So it wasn't like we could come up with one activity that they're all going to take part in, because you could have an older elementary school student, a younger one, and a toddler at the same time. And how do you entertain all of them at one time in one place? So what we kind of tried to do is come up with a range of activities that would kind of speak to the different levels of development for the kids, and also the different levels of interest. So basically we came up with almost 20 different activities that you could either download and print out from your home, or you could just use them on your phone and just kind of get to a park and reference those activities with the kids, and it'll keep them interested, and it'll keep them walking and enjoying nature, and at the same time maybe teaching them a thing or two. So what we did is, there's things that like toddlers could do that, that are based on pictures. Look at a picture and do a seek and find with the picture, things like that, all the way up to like more difficult activities. And they're all like going to be available on our on the town website, and with the with like any of the download capabilities are there too. So you could download any of the activities or take part in them. And then the other part was, even though we identified a lot that could be done at Shattuck, a lot of the activities could pretty much be done anywhere. They could be done on any trail or even in your own backyard. So that was the idea, was just getting people out, getting them, interested in nature and the trails and walking. So that's basically it.
That's awesome. So yourself and Joe went out and you guys shot some video. You're making our job easier. So you went out and shot some video. So I'd like to go take a look at that so people can kind of see. Do you want to kind of tell them what you're going to be seeing, or you want to just go right to the video?
Let's do video first, and then we can circle back. We especially want to, as Sue just said, we want to make sure that we introduce not only the concept of the activities, but the underlying benefit that we think that this would provide, not only during this time of pandemic and limited travel and limited outdoor activity, but beyond that, we think it's gonna, it's a good benefit that people can use for years. So why don't we go video?
All right, let's take it to the video, and we'll be right back.
Hi, this is Joe Greeley. I'm I'm here with Sue Bartlett. We'll introduce Sue in the next shot. It's April 25th, 2020. We're here at Shattuck Park in Norwood. I have a mask on, and I'll describe as to why. I'm about to take the mask off just so you can actually understand what I'm saying, but I wanted to start this piece off. We're currently, for those of you that are watching this video in a timely manner, thank you very much. We're currently in what's being described as the surge of the coronavirus pandemic, and the town's leadership, the town manager and the selectmen and the public board of health have instituted a mask program where citizens are required, when they go outdoors, they're required to wear a mask. Sue and I are about 8 feet apart, but there is a social distancing requirement as well of keeping a limit of a minimum of 6 feet between folks. It's a way to reduce the likelihood of a spread of this, what has turned out to be a deadly disease. So I'm going to take my mask off, but if you're watching this in a timely manner, please continue to use those social distancing guidelines as presented. I'm here with as a representative of the Norwood Trails Advisory Committee. We appreciate all the support and all the attention that the Trails Committee has received from the community. We think it's great. We think we're filling a void and providing a valuable service to the community. Primarily our mission statement is to identify locations for community members, both citizens and employees who work in town, to take advantage of Mother Nature and take advantage of some of the walking trails we have. The Appalachian Trail does not pass through Norwood, but we like to think that we've identified a number of trails that would allow people to enjoy nearby nature without having to leave town to do it. This week, as part of our continued rollout of resources, we have rolled out on our town webpage, we've rolled out some family-friendly activities for the community to take advantage of, especially now during this time when social distancing and access to the outdoors is limited. We think this provides a good self-service opportunity for families, and especially kids, youngish kids, or people who are young at heart, to take advantage of these activities. We have placed these activities electronically on the town webpage, in the Norwood Trails Advisory webpage. You could just go to Norwood, www.norwoodma.gov, and look for the Trails Committee, or you can just Google search Norwood Trails and our webpage will come up. We have close to 20 activities that we've posted PDFs for on the town website. Those are available as of today, and we think you'll enjoy the opportunities that those provide and allow. We're here at Shattuck Park, just as an example, but all the activities can be done in your own backyard or at any of the properties, frankly, anywhere. They include, we'll talk about these more, but they include scavenger hunts and coloring opportunities, a little bit of history, some outdoor conservation processes that people can follow. Basically, we want to try to educate, we want to try to help educate folks about what opportunities and what kind of resources we have in our own backyard, literally. This past week was actually Earth Day, so it's a great time for us to release this. But secondly, this week, the governor of the state of Massachusetts, Governor Baker, has put out the mandate that all of the schools, K through 12, must remain closed for the rest of the academic year. So families and kids, but mostly families, mostly parents, are looking for opportunities to continue the educational process and to try to, maybe equally important, if not more importantly, to try to make education as fun and as accessible as possible. So we're using today, in this video, we're using Shattuck Park as an example, but that same thing could be said about any one of the trails that we have here in town, or properties we have in town. It doesn't have to be one of the trails. So a little bit of history about Shattuck Park. Shattuck Park was donated in 1924 by Mrs. Emma Morrill Shattuck. The Morrill name obviously is important, and that's a kind of a giveaway. Mrs. Shattuck donated the property to the town at that time it was 9.5 acres, but it's currently 7.5 acres of entirely wooded property. There are some walking trails, and that was the purpose for which she donated, was to try to retain the kind of the nature, literally the nature of the property, because she was afraid that with the continued build out of the town, that the citizens of the town would lose the opportunity to stay in touch with Mother Nature. At that time, here we are at Nichols, the intersection of Nichols, Shattuck, Winter, and Bond Streets. That's where this property resides. But at that point, in 1924, this was on the outskirts of town. This was what was described as the wildlands, that it was at the far border. Little did she know at that time that there's another half mile of community housing that runs down Winter Street towards the Westwood line. Just to read a description at that point of the property. This document, there is a document on the town website. It's called Open Spaces, and it's a very interesting document. If you can Google that, it tells a little bit about 8 different properties in town. It's very good reading. But just one paragraph, it says, Shattuck Memorial Park, as Mrs. Shattuck wanted it to be named, shall remain an undeveloped oasis of wood and shade situated between Winter Street and Nichols Street. And truly anyone who's been here knows that it is in fact an oasis. It's kind of plunked right in the middle of a busy community. We've got really, hopefully Sue doesn't get hit, but it's a very busy intersection. If we pan into the body of the property, you can see it's mostly, at this time of year, the trees are just starting to leaf out. Between now and probably May 30th, it'll be mostly oak trees and some low scrub pines, but all the oak trees will have come out and leafed out by the end of May. But it's a really beautiful property if you haven't been out here before. It's a great place to come. Lots of community members. We've been out here for about a half an hour this morning, and we've already seen and interacted at a distance with easily 8 to 10 people. So gets a lot of activity, lots of dog walkers, lots of families up here. Mrs. Shattuck donated the property. The primary purpose, not only to retain the property itself, but we will see that there are a number of walking trails, and that was the main purpose that Mrs. Shattuck wanted to retain, was to make this accessible and to make it a resource that everyone in town could use. Speaking of accessible, the property, although it's not certified as ADA compliant yet, it is very ADA friendly. Mobility issues can be overcome. Most of the trails are gravel, stone dust and gravel. It's fairly flat, and it would definitely be mobile for someone on a walker, on a wheelchair, strollers. We've already seen 4 or 5 strollers. There's a stroller over there across the street right now, but it's definitely family friendly. So let's take a walk. Feel free over the course of while you're watching this, if you have any thoughts or suggestions. The Trails Committee can be reached if you email us at trails@norwoodma.gov. It's all one word, trails@norwoodma.gov. So let's take a walk.
Hey, this is Sue, and I'm just here because let me take the mask off just so I can talk a little easier on the video, but definitely be wearing your mask doing any kinds of activities around people. But so what we have available on our website, on the Trails website, is a bunch of different activities. Either you can download them and print them, or you can digitally look at them on your phone as you're here. But I just wanted to say a few things as we're walking down this trail. There should be activities for almost every age group. We kind of try to make it family friendly. So if you're here as a group with a family with different age kids, there should be activities that each age level could probably enjoy as you walk. So I'll just start out with a couple of examples. One of them, we have a trail scavenger hunt. This is probably one of the easier activities that we have available. It just has pictures, different things you might see on a trail. So maybe a younger child would be able to find, you know, find some rocks, find some tree branches, maybe a pine cone or two, things like that, just identified by pictures. So this is one of the activities that you can download from our website. Another one that's kind of maybe a little bit more advanced for maybe you know, an young elementary school student would be find the alphabet on a trail. So it's basically an idea of, it has all the letters of the alphabet, and as you're walking, maybe try and find something that begins with each letter of the alphabet as you go. So maybe A, you might find an acorn, things like that. And the child can like go through the whole alphabet and see if during the time you're here at the park that you can get every letter of the alphabet. We just actually met a few ladies who said back when they were kids, this was a lot wilder area, and her mother made her come out and get a cup of blueberries a couple times a week to make blueberry pie or whatever. So that maybe you'll find some blueberries, and that could be your letter B. So just going through the whole alphabet, and it'd be a challenge for the kids to try to find, you know, maybe something that begins with each letter. And then even another activity that might be even for older kids, maybe two older kids, couple of kids could play. There's suggestions for games like I Spy. Like one child can say, I spy something that's red. Maybe, you know, you see a cardinal or you see a bird, things like that. Other games, they have different games with like bio lessons, things like that. So all different activities, these are maybe for older kids. So hopefully we have, once you go on the website and find out maybe there's maybe 20 or more activities, you could find something for everyone there. Hopefully, that's what we've tried to get. And if there's any other suggestions, we're definitely open for suggestions on that too. So with that, we'll maybe take a look around on the trails.
So as Sue described, the activities that are now on the Norwood Trails webpage, they're listed under the Trails activity link. These can really be done anywhere. As Sue said, they can be done at Shattuck, they could be done in your own backyard. If you have any green space really near your home, they could be done at Germany Brook, the landfill, wherever. We just happen to be here at Shattuck Park, and we're going to talk about the opportunities here at Shattuck. But again, these and some of the activities that are on the webpage are specific to Shattuck Park. But the majority of them, as I said, can be done anywhere. One of the, probably if you're physically coming to Shattuck Park, probably one of the most important documents that that you should find first is a map of Shattuck Park. As you can see, and as you will see, these are all PDF files, by the way, and as Sue said, you can either access them electronically on your device, or you can print them from home. If you do print them from home, obviously a color printer would be great. As you can see on this map here, we've color-coded all of the trails. There's a total of eight different trails, and we just happen to be standing, we've identified this spot at Shattuck Park as the hub, and you'll see why in a second. But so this intersection is basically an intersection between several of these color-coded trails. All in all, as I mentioned before, the property is only 7.5 acres, so we're talking, it's a long distance for short legs, or if you have a short-legged dog, but essentially you could spend 20 to 30 minutes here and cover all the trails. It's a great place to come for your lunch hour if you're working in downtown Norwood, or if you need a break from whatever. It's a great place. I'm going to just to kind of link the physical layout with the map. As you'll see, starting at the corner of Bond and Nickel Street, which is behind Sue, and running all the way up to the intersection closest to the cemetery and the landfill, we've identified that as the red trail. Sue is panning on most of the trails we've tried to identify with a marker, a blaze, just so that you can orient yourselves from the map to the trail. So we've got essentially here, we've got at this intersection, there's no traffic lights here, and you can take a left out of this intersection. But at this intersection, we've got several trails that merge right here. Behind me here, you can see on the tree, we've marked in none of these blazes will injure the tree in any way. As they say, no animals were harmed during the filming, and likewise, no trees were harmed during this filming either. So we've got the purple trail, we've got the orange trail ahead of you. To the left, we've got the green trail. The green trail is another major trail that goes from the intersection of Winter and Bond all the way down to the intersection of Shattuck Park and Nickel Street. So some of these trails form the letter X, and some of them are a little more kind of random. But ultimately, to the wishes of Mrs. Shattuck, who donated the land, this is an open space. It's available for walking, and it's a great community resource. It's perfect for passive recreation. A couple of the other points, this is one of my favorite parks actually. It's very small. It is as was originally intended. It is truly an oasis. A couple of the points that I like to point out, and I, in my own mind, I think it would be cool to be a young person or a kid and be able to go from essentially, as Sue looks out, we've got a couple of peaks, and they're pretty cool. You know, it's a flat piece of property. You definitely won't get elevation sickness here. But we've got peaks that, you know, kids with great imaginations can pretend that they're on a sailing ship, and you know they're working their way from the helm and just looking out over the ocean and looking at other peaks. You could pretend that you're in the Whites and looking at the Appalachian Trail peak to peak. Whatever, I mean, it's a great place just to let your imagination run wild. Behind Sue, over in the corner along along Nickel Street, there's what I refer to as there's a number of wild rhododendrons. So at some point a long time ago, somebody must have planted one or a couple. But at this point, there's a small jungle of rhododendrons over there. In my own small mind, I like to refer to that area as Little Rhodey or Rhodey Island. Again, it's a scary place, and I can just let my imagination run wild, so why shouldn't everybody? It is a great place. One of the other things that we always bring out, the Trails Committee is trying to foster this no matter what property we're on. We always carry trash bags, we always bring gloves. We always try to take the opportunity whenever we're out on the trails to pick up trash, to identify any hazards. Behind me, there was a big windstorm about a week and a half ago, and one of our members, Marguerite Krupp, she wrote up what we have a document on our website that's called a trail report. There was a large oak tree that was, frankly, it was a hazard. It was, as they call, a hazard tree because it was just kind of an accident waiting to happen. And the tree there, you can see the stump through the woods. The tree actually fell and blocked one of the trails. So with Marguerite's help, we did report that to the DPW, and in very short order, Mike and one of the crews from the DPW was up here within 2 days, and they eliminated the hazard. They took the remains, the tree limbs, etc., and they brought them back up to the dump. What we always try to do is leave the property in better condition than the way we found it. The other thing, as I mentioned before, we're definitely open for suggestion. If individuals come across a hazard, we're the eyes and ears of all of these properties, and we all own them because we're all community members. So if anybody sees anything, it's one of those see something, say something. We always try to take advantage of that. And we do have an email address that people can email us questions, suggestions, hazard notifications, etc. It's trails@norwoodma.gov. So we want to thank, first of all, we want to thank the town. Tony Mazzucco, the town manager, approved this process. He was all on board, and he was excited when we brought this opportunity to him. Sigal Reese also approved and blessed the project because she is a very strong advocate for outdoor outdoor education and taking advantage of community resources, especially at this time during this coronavirus pandemic. Obviously, we want to thank the community as well, because we're working for you, and whatever suggestions that people have, we're all ears, and we want to try to be as responsive as possible. So today's introduction, we also wanted to thank Norwood Community Media, Megan and Jack and the crew at Norwood NCM. Invited us to create this video and introduce this to the town, and we think that's a great opportunity for us and for the community, and we obviously want to thank them for their continued support. So that's it from Shattuck Park, but as Sue said, these activities you can do this in your own backyard. Norwood Trails Advisory Committee, as we like to say, take a hike in Norwood.
Welcome back. That was awesome, Sue and Joe. Thank you. We might have to get you on NCM as some part-time producers there with that work. Also, so Sue, you did recap some of the activities in that video, but I understand there is a lot more that you guys are offering. Do you want to talk more about that?
Sure. And all of these, again, can be found on our website. At the end, we'll let you know where those are. But as I said before, like there's different, like our target was different age groups. So one of them is called Census on a nature walk. And it's just kind of try to encourage kids to like explore the trails in a much more active and way, where they have a little piece of paper and they have to say different things that they hear, different things that they smell, different things that they see, or different things that they feel. So more experiencing the trails and all the things out in the trails in just almost like a deeper way that it might encourage them to do that. There's also some more, almost like what Joe was saying about the orienteering. We have some maps of the different trails in town, and some older kids might want to just almost like become orienteers, where they take the map and try to find their way through the park and see where one trail intersects another trail, and just kind of getting a spatial view of the property and the area. So we have all maps that they can download and follow the map. And we even have at Shattuck, we have one where they can kind of be map makers themselves and actually measure out the lengths of the trails, maybe in different criteria, like maybe how many steps is the blue trail, how many steps is the red trail, and where they intersect and things like that. So they can almost become like map makers themselves in doing those kind of things. And then we also have like more basic like sensory games. We have one that's like colors in nature, and it shows like a color wheel. And with that activity, you might want to take the color wheel and walk around and see if you can find all different colors within the park itself. And then there's also, instead of individual activities, there's a couple of family activities. There's one we call Nature Bingo, where each one in the family would get like a little nature card. And as you walk around, you can check off if you see a bird, if you could see find a rock, find this or that. And whoever fills their bingo card first wins, things like that. So activities that the family can take part in all together. So it's just a range of different activities, and all of them will be available for everyone. And like we said, not just Shattuck Park, but any park that's near your house that you can walk to, or even in your own backyard. So
that's great. And they find these all on the town website, correct?
Yeah, I think Joe knows where they are.
Yep. So Megan, they're all of these are activities. Pat DeShanes and Sandy Moore at the town hall have been great for providing us support. The Trails Committee has a website. It's part of the Norwood Town website. It's www.norwoodma, and that's all one word, norwoodma.gov. You could also just Google the words Norwood and Trails. Officially, we're the Norwood Trails Advisory Committee. But if you just Google Norwood Trails or Norwood Trails Committee, it will lead you right to it. We don't have a fancy URL that would drop you right into our page, but we're going for fancy in the future. We're just not quite there yet.
That's great. That's great. Now, what was there a motive? You know, obviously the Trails has done some amazing work since you guys have been, formed, and the passion for what you guys do. But was there more motivation because of people, like because of the situation we're in right now? Obviously, these games are great. Nature bingo, like that sounds like fun, like of any age, like for families, any age could do that.
Yeah.
Was there more motivation because of the current situation?
Yeah, I think we, just the fact, and last week actually, when we finished our work at Shattuck Park, and when Pat and Sandy were able to get the activities page up onto the website, coincidentally in that same week, school, the K through 12 Norwood schools are across the state actually were essentially canceled. The academic year was canceled, and there was a loud moan. There was a loud moan, especially from the parents, and actually from the whole community, the parents, the teachers, the school children, the kids. There is a feeling of community, obviously, within the school community, but it really, you could really feel the anguish and the pain and the struggle that, okay, well, this thing originally started out as maybe we'll take 2 weeks and we'll try to do the best practices and social distancing. But meanwhile, those 2 weeks have turned into 6 already. And if you kind of fast forward, when the academic year, typically the school on the Hill has commencement and graduation, the 8th or 10th of June. And so now we're talking at least another 6 to 8 weeks of no school. But the flip side is the education has to continue. Right, the learning doesn't stop because the building is closed. I saw that statement this week, and I thought it was really telling, and I thought it was really meaningful that people are really kind of stepped up and said, okay, well, like there's no formal classroom, but my children love education. We all need to keep the senses constantly churning and learning, and what we tried to do is offer something that. As Sue said, it doesn't necessarily have to be done at Shattuck. It can be done. We have on the Trails webpage, we have 5 different maps, 5 different locations, but we also have a map, a town-wide map, and that's one of the links on the front, on the homepage for the Trails Committee. But we have a map that has 22 sites across town that are either have trails on them or they're great open spaces or conservation land. So, we're only focusing on Shattuck as an example, but, there was a saying that, certain towns and cities across the country and across the world, really, they gauge themselves from a nature standpoint on how long does it take somebody to get from their home to a passive recreation area. Some communities pride themselves, and we would like to think in the town of Norwood that it wouldn't take you more than 10 minutes to get from your backyard to open space. And that's pretty much true. If you look, there's really no place in town that you can't get to Endine, or you can't get to Shattuck, or right now I'm standing on top of Mount Norwood by Germany Brook in the Westwood border. Beautiful sunset, but you could, this sunset show happens, there's actually 3 other people here watching the sunset right now. So even if it's just, at the end of the day, if you walk the dog or if the kids want to get out and get some fresh air, we just want to provide another educational opportunity for families and for kids especially.
Can I just,
yeah.
I just wanted to add one thing to that too. One of the first reasons that I joined the Trails Committee was that I enjoy running. I love running, and I had just started doing some trail runs, and I'm getting on board with that. And every trail run that I ran, I would either, go to Walpole, go to Dover, go all over. And I'm like, there must be trails here in Norwood that I could run. And then all of a sudden I heard about this Trails Committee. And so that's what I started. I started like coming to the meetings and finding out where the trails are around town. And then just to address during this pandemic, every race pretty much that we've been signed up for has been canceled or changed into a virtual run. And for runners, like most of the fun was like on the weekend going somewhere and running somewhere different. I mean, you could run around your neighborhood like, every day and just make yourself crazy, but to find someplace different to run. And so these trails, it's just a great opportunity for people to get out and run and experience somewhere different, someplace different. And that's why I think even just promoting the main trails map that has all the 22 different trails around town, that would be a plus for anyone that wants to get out and do something different.
Absolutely. Now, Sue, you said that how you became involved. If someone wanted to become involved, or if they wanted to learn more about the trails or had any questions, how do they go about doing that?
Well, we have an email address. It's just trails@norwoodma.gov. And if you email that email address, any one of us could answer any of your questions on it, probably.
Awesome. So this was great. I hope, do you guys have anything else for the community that you want them to know? Obviously we want them to go to the website, practice social distancing. If you do go, out to these trails, please participate in these games, and awesome activities that you guys have set up and taken the time to do. So.
Yeah, and then also like just keep an eye out on like Norwood Now or any of the social media, because we have different events like all throughout the year. Like we do a Halloween walk for the kids where they go around and do kind of a scavenger hunt and come back for a Halloween treat, and they dress up in their costumes. It's like an extra time where the kids can make use of the costumes that they have. So we do a Halloween walk. We're at Norwood Day. We have all different, like Joe said, we have the moonlight walk. So just keep an eye out for the Trails Committee on social media, and maybe just join us at one of the events and have some fun with us. So
awesome. And Joe, do you have anything else?
Just some of these some of these activities there, you could look at them and you say, okay, well, scavenger hunt is fun, but that's just really to get the wheels turning. There's another one on there. There's another one of the activities that's basically just a nature journal. But I've actually been contacted by a couple of college students that said, I'm in my third year of an environmental science program. And what, we had a couple of kids, college, I shouldn't call them kids anymore. A couple of college students, walk around some of the trails and give us some feedback as part of a program, like an outdoor program that they received credit for as part of their Envi-Sci program. So it's not, it might look like it's appealing to the like 5 to 7 year old group, but it's definitely scalable. We're working, as Sue said, we're working with Charlotte Walsh and some of the running clubs in town. We've done some work already with the senior center and Kerry at the senior center, and we're just trying to, we're not trying to be all things to all people, but we thrive on feedback. Just this activity page, it really stemmed from a simple question of where can we go orienteering, and that's the kind of thing that we're more than excited about responding to, and we have just as much fun as everybody else. So as Sue said, we invite people to come to our meetings, let us get in touch with us, let us know if you think of a different direction. Geocaching is another one similar to orienteering, but there's we're 10 square miles and there's a lot to do in the town of Norwood. So we like to invite people to, if you're going to take a hike, take it in Norwood.
Awesome. That is a great quote. Take it in Norwood. So I just want to thank both of you for being here with us. This is a first for NCM. This is kind of our first virtual talk show. So Joe, I don't want you to you might want to tell Jack McCarthy I might be coming for his job.
Wait, Jack who? What?
I know. I might be coming for his job. So, but I just want to thank you both so much. And I think this is great. So let's keep posted on the trails, and we'll see you guys soon.